And welcome to this Tuesday edition of Bury Your Bookie. I'm Jeff DeForrest. Very happy to have you with us here for the show. Brought to you by Greenlight Ventures, Bet Online, and of course, the great people on all the platforms that continue to expand with nofilter.net. Happy to have you along for the ride. I always love the postscript after the Super Bowl, had a day to sink in. There's some debate. I guess the debate would be, should the Monday after the Super Bowl be declared a national holiday? Would we really be giving anything up in terms of participation and perpetuation of a strong economy if everybody took off work on Monday? Because everybody's just fucking off everything anyway. So maybe that's an idea whose time has come. Maybe we could take it up, an executive order be signed, and the next thing you know, we're all off on Monday after the Super Bowl. And then you come back Tuesday, people have sobered up a little bit, and you get more sobering thoughts on what transpired, or so you would think. But this is an age of extremism in sports and sports conversation. And so the perception went from Patrick Mahomes being ready to be declared by the majority of people around the country that watch football the greatest of all time, eclipsing Tom Brady. Now, a lot of people use championships as the barometer, the measuring stick of the stuff of which legends are made, and whether or not to put somebody at the very top of the people that have ever played or participated in the sport or not. Brady with the 7 rings, that's pretty strong. That it will never be eclipsed, but by any quarterback. I know you can never say never. You would have never thought that Gretzky's record for goals would go down. Ovechkin is drawing. He's breathing right down his neck there with 16 away from tying a mark that you thought was inconceivable. I guess Cy Young with 500 plus victories in Major League Baseball, that's not happening anytime soon. You barely have guys that sniff winning 20 games anymore, and they would have to be around for 25 years at that pace to do it. It's not happening. It's just not. Andy Reid may surpass Don Shula's record of 347 career NFL victories. He's at 301, and he's still stuck at 301, and that's what sparked all of this conversation about Mahomes. Now 3-2 in Super Bowl games. 2 of his 4 biggest blowout losses have come in championship games. I think even he would say that he looked like shit for most of that ball game. And at the same time, he was battling to the end. This is something that you like. We just had a thing here in South Florida where Jimmy Butler started sulking because he wasn't going to get 3 years at $178 million. And he thought Pat Riley was being an asshole about that. And maybe he was. I don't know. He ended up getting a compromised version of it, but pretty favorable, you would have to say, to him. But what was he doing? I mean, you're still getting handed $50 million. I know we've mentioned this movie a couple of times. Robert De Niro in The Fan, one of the worst sports movies ever made, eclipsed only by Robbie Benson in a movie called One on One. One on One. I want to play that game tonight. Horrible movie. The worst I've ever seen. Hard on coach is treating Robbie Benson, this high school hotshot, as if he was dog meat. He gets all discouraged. Finally, some girl encourages him to lift his head and go out there and play. Turns around, this drill sergeant of a coach, looked like Jack Webb in the Dragnet series, finally needs this guy to perform, and he comes through like a champ. Of course, Rocky fucking Balboa. But the second worst sports movie ever was The Fan with Robert De Niro. And I don't know that you need to be that type of fan where, in the case of Jimmy Butler, you're thinking, hey, what are you sulking around for? You're getting $50 million. You're wasting your potential. It's the worst thing that somebody could do. But yeah, I mean, in the case of Patrick Mahomes, this guy's fighting right to the bitter end. I mean, he's still chucking the ball 50 yards down the field on target, making plays. So can you condemn him for that? They got pounded by a better team, and a lot of people were pointing at it and thinking that Philadelphia was just too strong for them. But it's amazing to me the extremes that the narration takes when you're talking about aftermath of a championship game, especially a blowout, which watching that was tantamount to watching the clubbing of seals for most of the game, unless you had action on it. And now all of a sudden, Mahomes is out of the picture. OOP, as they used to say in dog racing, out of picture. Nowhere to be seen when the dogs cross the finish line there. As cruel a sport as it may have been, still, it was a phenomenon here in South Florida for many, many years, a staple of the culture of South Florida. And yeah, many a dog race, my dog was OOP, out of picture. And that's kind of where Mahomes is now in this whole conversation about greatest of all time, which I find remarkable since before the game kicked off, he was already ready to be anointed. So a lot of people changed their minds. We're going to welcome Scotty M to the show. Before we do, we're going to tell you about Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, Bet Online continues to be, people, your number one sporting betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, with stats, and more. For every game, every play, and every win, BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, Scotty M, I believe you were among the many on this program that was a fan of the idea that the Philadelphia Eagles were a physically stronger team. They were going to beat the snot. I don't know that anybody could have anticipated to that level, that degree, the thoroughness. This was literally, it was Larry Holmes and Tex Cobb, was it not? Where you're screaming at the referee, Carlos Padilla, along with Howard Cosell, stop it, ref, it's a killing. And they could have stepped in and stopped this thing. There was a brief moment there towards the end of the half where you thought, well, geez, as horrible as Kansas City has been, they have a chance to come back in this game. If they can score here, and then get the ball back and begin the second half with some kind of score. Maybe it's 17-10 or something along those lines. But instead, what does Mahomes do? He throws a pick. Philly goes in, 24 zipperoni, and you had to think that the only thing left to decide was what color Gatorade was going to be dumped on Sirianni's head. But how did you feel about it? It was interesting from many different aspects, not the least of which was the thoroughness of the beating that was administered by the Philadelphia Eagles.
I actually thought it was going to go exactly the way it did. I told
Well,
you to rely on Jalen Hurts' feet and his arm. He controlled that whole game perfectly. Didn't even need Barkley as much as I anticipated Barkley would be involved. He was involved in the game quite a bit. It was just a one-sided, too much strength, too many weapons, and the defense was phenomenal, which made it even more powerful for the Eagles to really stomp on them. I actually called this game not on your show because we do it on Tuesdays, but as the week progressed, on our show on Friday, I called the Eagles in an absolute blowout to win this game. It's on my, if you go on my Instagram, you can see it in TikTok. Called the Eagles in a blowout. I thought they would dominate the game, and it worked out perfectly for me. All the props I kind of used and circled around the game worked out. I used Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown, which worked out great early in the
yeah.
game. I had Jalen Hurts over in passing yards, and I got a break. I had Mahomes over passing yards. So that last touchdown, like you said, he threw a 50-yarder, took him over the total. So it was a complete, beautiful overall success for us on the Super Bowl this year. But yeah, it was just a domination. I mean, unbelievable, both sides of the ball. And you could see the defense just totally flustered Mahomes. He was tippy-toeing around. He just didn't look himself. And they just did the perfect situation. That four-man rush worked out great. Remember, you were talking about Vic Fangio, and should he change it up? And I said, no, whatever brings you to the dance, leave it. It's working. And, I mean, it couldn't have worked any better.
That's the old Don Meredith, dance with the girl you brought, right?
Yeah.
And he did. And to his credit, he not only stuck with it, but it was even more dominating than you ever could have imagined, I thought. I mean, the pressure up the middle on Mahomes was incredible.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, I mean, these guys were there. Mahomes, very adept at slipping out of that kind of situation and just taking off up the middle. And they were there. I mean, in the aftermath, he would take a couple of steps forward, and they would just hammer him before he got to the line of scrimmage. So that was great. So yeah, the Eagles fans were dancing in the streets. What do you make of the conversations now? Prior to the ball game, I was talking about this before you came on, Scotty M. Everybody's ready to anoint Patrick Mahomes the greatest of all time. Now, did he have a good ball game? No, he played like shit. He battled to the end. He wasn't, as I was talking about, also sulking around like a Jimmy Butler was with the Heat. It would have been very easy to just tell the fat man, hey, listen, Andy, I'm not going back out there. I mean, go ahead and give somebody else a shot to step on the field in the Super Bowl. You're down, 40-6.
Yep.
So it's unlikely you're coming back. But he kept chucking a rock, and still was under pressure even in those situations. So although Philadelphia had backed off a little bit, but it was amazing, and you do like to see that. So where does that leave you? Because people have turned their back on Mahomes. It's like Paul Sorvino in Goodfellas. Now I got to turn my back on you. All of the talk about how he was unbeaten against Fangio, 8-0 coming in, the greatest of all time. He's already written the legacy. Did it in, winning 4 Super Bowls possibly in far less time than Brady. Um, all of a sudden, that's all turned to Jesus. What a loser. I don't know where do you stand with this with Patrick Mahomes, and is it important to decide? I mean, who the greatest of all time is? If championships is your criteria, then I don't know that anybody's ever going to eclipse winning 7 as a quarterback.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I was watching shows like you were mentioning, and all of a sudden, they're just jumping all over this guy in a negative way all of a sudden because of that game. Listen, he's faced Hurts twice in 2 Super Bowls. Hurts has totally outplayed him both times. Hurts should have been MVP the first time they played each other, but you're not going to give it to the losing team, obviously. Totally outplayed him in that game. Absolutely destroyed him in this game. Yeah, I mean, he's 3 wins and 2 losses in the 5 Super Bowls. The 2 losses were blowouts. Tampa Bay crushed them. The Eagles crushed them. I mean, Brady won 7. I don't even see how you really should have the conversation of Mahomes, even at the level, yeah, if he won this one and maybe wins another one down the road. But, right now, I don't think that's even a conversation at this point. I think what Brady did with the Patriots winning 6 and then going to Tampa in his first year and winning a title there, taking a team that hadn't won a title. I don't think they ever won a title. Oh, they won one, excuse me.
Yeah.
And takes them first year and wins a title with them. Uh, totally different situation. I just feel the bashing of Mahomes is not, it's not cool at all. Obviously, the guy had an off game. What can you do? He ran in against a brick wall. I mean, the defense for the Eagles was phenomenal. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone could have beat that team that day.
They could have handed him a blindfold and a last drag on a cigarette, and it would have been about the same thing that he was facing going up against that pass rush. And I forgot who I was talking to, Scotty M. I mean, of course, you're going to say that he's distanced himself from even being in the conversation with your man, the great Tom Brady. I thought I saw you in the Dunkin' Donuts commercial.
Yeah, exactly. I was
That's how attached you are to that whole Patriot legacy, as you're a common and frequent presence at all of those games. There was when Brady was tearing it up with Belichick. Who, by the way, I mean, I don't know when you made of this. I don't think you were on with us since Belichick was at that awards dinner in New Orleans with the 24-year-old babe.
Yeah.
What's your feeling about that? I mean, he brings her half naked out there on the red carpet to an awards dinner. Where they're going to name like the man of the year and the guy that's done the most charitable stuff and all of these other very sentimental awards. And he's got like a woman dressed in pasties and a G-string. She's 24 years old, happens to be smoking hot. You would have to say, hey, Belichick, I mean, what do you think? I mean, if you were this girl's parent, how would you feel when a 72-year-old Belichick rolled into the house to sit down for dinner for that introductory, very awkward introduction to meet the girl's parents?
Well, I'm sure we kind of know what direction that's going in. A 24-year-old girl, I don't know how attractive she is to a 72-year-old man, but it is Bill Belichick.
No doubt.
He is a legend in the New England area, obviously, and he's extremely well known. He's a powerful guy. He could get her in places she probably could never get in her entire life. So it is kind of it's a fantasy kind of thing. Why not take advantage of it? I mean, obviously, she's a very hot young woman hanging out with an older man. Gives Bill a new side of him, at least. You're seeing a little different side of Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
You always saw him in these press conferences. He didn't say much. Everyone always said he had no personality, but he must have something going on if he's attracted to.
Holy moly.
Helps.
He's got to be gargling with Viagra, no? I mean, come on, keep pace with that, Scotty M. What are the odds of is there an odds board out there or a price on how long that relationship lasts? Is there any over under 6.5 months, a couple of years? Any odds on like a future Derby future bet where people are gambling on whether or not Belichick actually marries this babe? That was pretty incredible. But if you wanted to spit in the face of the stuffed, old stodgy NFL owners that stiffed Bill Belichick, he definitely threw it right in their face. He says, "You geezers."
Yeah.
Unless you can find an Anna Nicole Smith, you're not going to find anything.
Hey, listen, I give him credit, man. I download the Google
home app on a phone or tablet.
Oh, I give him credit. You know, he's having a good time right now at his 72 years old. Let him enjoy himself. Got a new career in college football. He's got a
Right.
beautiful young girlfriend. Why not enjoy yourself? I mean, you know, what's wrong with that?
And he's turning. I mean, it's not like he's turning over recruits from Ohio State or Georgia or Alabama, but he's getting some guy from Temple to flip Louisiana Lafayette. So supposedly, at least according to an online article I was perusing this morning, very peripherally, the North Carolina Belichick presence is starting to have a little bit of an impact on college recruiting, and we'll see if he can make something happen there in the aftermath of Mac Brown, who was what 107 when he finally, they said, "Hey Mac, you're getting all old," and they bring in Belichick. That's awesome. All right, I mean, I would imagine you're well immersed. We had a winner on the show yesterday when our man Mike Jones, liking Clemson in that clash with North Carolina last night. Where are you going to start directing your attention now that the football season is over, Scotty M?
Actually, I've been directing my attention for weeks now into basketball, and we've been so hot. It's been crazy. Knock on wood, whatever you want to say. Our basketball, even last week on the show, gave you the Super Bowl plus two college games. They both won. We've been just red hot. We've been doing a lot of winning in basketball, college basketball. Always like it. I love this time of the year because you're really getting to see the teams really, get a little more physical going into these tournaments in college basket. So you get the good solid matchups. You could catch some numbers off based on looking at it the way I look at it on a daily basis. So, I look for value. I'm looking for numbers that I feel don't make sense, and I try to turn that into making money. And it's been working out really well. Our free picks have been on fire on social media. We're 10-1, and our last 11 free picks up there on the videos. It's all posted beforehand. It's not like I'm saying it after the fact. I'm putting it right up there before the games go off. So if you go back,
Everybody's a great post race handicapper. You know that from hanging out at the track with me all
oh
those
yeah,
years. Where
this,
right after I told you the four couldn't lose. Yeah, who'd you bet on the six? Okay, then go fuck
right,
it. Get out of here.
yeah.
But after the game, it's no high degree of difficulty to pick who won. But before the game, that's a whole nother challenge. So you're red hot, 10-1. Get out of here with free picks, Scotty M.
Yeah, so we've been really hot.
Nice.
8-1 in the month of February
Did you lose
already.
my number or something? I have to get in on this. I need to get on a winning streak, Scotty. I really need you on this college basketball front. Then.
Well, I got some college hoops I like
All right.
tonight. Looked at the board. I figured I'd come on, try to get the audience a couple of W's tonight. But there's three games that intrigued me. A lot of games tonight. A lot of big teams playing. But these three really stood out. You got Tennessee playing against Kentucky again, two of the top teams in the nation. Kentucky handed it to them at Tennessee 13 days ago. But I think Tennessee was going through a little whirlwind then. They seem to turn it back around. They've won their last three in a row. They've won three straight games in a row. Kentucky's 12-2 at home. They're a strong home team, no doubt about it. 5-5 in their last 10 games. But I like Tennessee to come back. I think Tennessee's going to bounce back and beat Kentucky in this game. They're showing this game at -2, 2.5. I just money line the game. I wouldn't worry about a point spread. I like Tennessee on the money line to come back and beat Kentucky. I think that right now they're going back up, and I think they're the class of the two teams at this point. Even though Kentucky did steal the game 13 days ago. And another team that I made a lot of money with this year, and this team's quiet, but they're one of the top teams in the nation. Georgia versus Texas A&M. Texas A&M is number 8 in the country. They just play steady basketball. That's what they've been doing. They've won their last three straight games in a row. They're 10-1 on their court. They're playing Georgia, who's not a good team on the road this year. 1-5 on the road, 4-6 in their last 10 overall. I like A&M in this game. They're making the line about 8.5. I'm bringing the number I like to make this a strong play is 7. So I'm buying it down. I'm adjusting the line down to Texas A&M -7 in this spot, and I think A&M gets the job done, wins by double digit. And one last one, another great matchup tonight. Purdue, number 7 in the country versus Michigan. I like the Boilermakers in this game. They got a good road record. They're 5-2 on the road this year. They're solid. Michigan is 11-0 at home. but they just played each other back on January 24th in Purdue, and Purdue just smashed them. They won by 91-64. They won by 27. The line is soft here. I mean, it opened at 2.5. It's down to 1.5. I like Purdue. I'd get it back to the 2.5, buy it back to the original number. I think Purdue's a live dog in this game. I think they can beat them again. They blew them out recently. I think they're the stronger of the two teams. I like Purdue as a live dog. Those are the three for tonight.
Strong convictions there, Scotty. I love this about you.
Yeah, I feel good about my stuff.
I
When
mean,
you're
you're
feeling
speaking
good,
with
you
the
got to
same
feel
kind
good.
of exhilaration as some guy that knows he has a stone cold lock at the track, and he's giving it out to only his closest and most respected of friends. And I think that's great. College basketball. What would you say overall? Now, there are many degenerates that would, I think, say that college basketball what was the most consistent in terms of holding the form where whatever expertise you have at handicapping these games is more likely to hold up than it is in a lot of other sports where the results tend to be more random.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it because the NBA is just a total disaster from night to night. It's hard to get a gauge
Yeah,
on them. They make bad numbers. A lot of these players, you see always next to their name, GTD, game time decision. You know, the lines could fluctuate by multiple points. They're holding out these guys until the very end. So it kind of, it throws off your numbers because you don't really know the real numbers on these games. And a lot of these players are sitting out from they're getting banged up or whatever the case may be, and it's just tough to get a real gauge. The NBA, I think personally, is probably the toughest sport. Maybe you could catch totals, because you could even with certain pieces out of the puzzle, you could still catch a total number more than the game itself. But I think the NBA by far is the toughest sport consistently because there's so many games per week and these players are in and out and you're not getting a real gauge. But I like college. They play a couple of times a week. It seems like these conference games, and when they're out of conference, you can really get a real good number in your favor. Like I'm looking at with some games today, I feel I have an edge. And I just like college basketball. Yeah, that's my personal best. And I do like NHL hockey, believe it or not. Not all the time, but I look at certain spots where I look for teams, like whether they're on the road, how they're playing against, that's a certain situation, or they're at home playing against a situation, like that. And I can catch some money lines in my favor. So hockey's been pretty good. Now they're on a little hiatus, but for a couple of weeks with these world championship things going on.
hockey, for me was always like betting highlight as compared to horses and even dogs, which we were talking about earlier in the program. Tough one, but a lot of people embrace it. I guess if you had, really deep
Well,
research and
you got to
knowledge
be
of the
in.
game,
You got to
you
be in
probably
it.
do well.
Yeah, you got to be in. Listen, Defo, you know how it is. And you can't just pick up the newspaper or go on the computer for 10 minutes and try to analyze all these games and come
Yeah,
up with a
you're
decision.
just guessing.
You're just Russian roulette yourself
Yeah,
and you're going to throw away money. I mean, as good as I am at putting time into it, doesn't mean I'm winning every game, nor do I win every game. But I
sure.
try to make a good decision and I look at matchups and I follow these teams real closely. I can't follow 150 teams, real closely, but I look for a certain bucket of teams, maybe 20, 25 teams, where I really focus in on who they playing against and, obviously follow those teams and then I can make better decisions. But if you just, you don't put the time in, you're not getting the results out. There's no way.
Oddly, in the NBA, and I believe this is still holding true, it was as of a couple of weeks ago, which was probably the last time I checked, against the spread this year. I mean, the two most obvious teams that you would think would be going down to the spread are the two best teams in the NBA, East
Yeah.
and West. Cleveland and Oklahoma City, I think, have a huge favorable upside records against the spread this year. In addition to the fact that they're far and away the best records in the NBA, including your Boston Celtics, who hammered the Heat last night. As the Heat displayed a little bit of a new configuration there with Andrew Wiggins in the aftermath of the whole Jimmy Butler saga, which it didn't even become a trade; it became a saga
Yeah.
after a while. I mean, it was almost painful day after day, especially for those of us that are in South Florida, to follow this drama and see the deprecation and the disparaging things that were being said about the great Pat Riley as he staggered around trying to accommodate the wishes of a disgruntled ball player who eventually got, you would have to say, a very favorable result for his situation, the way he created it. All right, Scotty M, where do people? You're on fire, which is great. You're on Instagram, and people can get all kinds of advice from you when it comes to wagering and trying to make some money instead of getting, the usual deal and scenario where you're being carted out of the casino in a body bag.
Well, that's the problem I run in with players. The problem is when guys reach out to somebody like me, they're already crushed, and they're looking for me to pull them out like out of the quicksand with the ropes.
Yeah.
So I wish they'd come to me a little sooner so I have a shot of helping them try to grow the
Come
bankroll.
to me before you put on the 50 pounds, and I'll help you get in shape. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's how it goes. Unfortunately, in our world, they come to us a little too late when they don't have the firepower like
I
they
got
have.
nothing. I need a winner.
Yeah, exactly. They're coming in the 11th and a half hour. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm on Instagram, and you can find me. Go check it out. Listen, what I'm telling you. Listen, when I lose, I lose. I'm the first one. I'm going to say I lost. But we have been on a heater. We have been winning in our basketball games. Our hockey plays have been outstanding, and it's all on Instagram. My official channel is SM Sports Picks, PICKS. Don't go anywhere else. There's other ones out there similar. It's SM Sports Picks, Picks. You'll see me on the videos, obviously. If you don't see me, you're not in the right spot.
There you go. And you're easily recognizable, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that, Defo. You've been loyal to me for a long time, and that's why I'm here for you.
You're a good man. I love this confidence that you're plunging on college basketball with here on the show today, and now with wild anticipation instead of saying, "Oh, geez, more college basketball," it all starts to blend in and look.
I love it. This time of the year, I'll tell you what, I like it more so than football because football is a tough sport. We all know it. One of the toughest, if not the NBA, I would say it's the toughest. Right underneath it's football. But college basketball, I don't know, for me, like I said, it's been really, really solid for many years. It's not just this year, but we've been pretty solid on our games, and we've always had pretty good March Madness tournaments. So, knock on wood, looking forward to that coming up soon.
And definitely something to be looking for as you try to find these so-called sleeper teams. They have a chance to either win their conference tournament or win a couple of large upset games that will get you favorable odds, or maybe even make some noise in the NCAA tournament. So good time of the year, and you have a reasonable body of work to look at. Whereas in football, sometimes it changes in very short spurts. Jerry Glanville was absolutely right when he described it as not for long, the NFL. Because you'll see teams, they look great for a short period of time. Now, we did see Philadelphia go on an extended run, and we applaud your opinion because you were the first to come on a show here a couple of weeks ago when the Super Bowl matchup was made and say Philadelphia in a blowout. So excellent work, Scotty M. And thanks so much for joining us this morning. Always appreciate you getting up and being with us on these Tuesdays. We'll talk to you again next week.
Okay, Defo, be good.
All right.